So this would go directly onto the ballot for California voters who can vote to create their own class of worker for the gig economy. It's such a big move to go into a now completely new class of labor, but it's actually the solution that has been needed. California passed this legislation to classify gig economy workers as employees. Does this solve the two biggest gripes of gig economy workers? No, it doesn't. It just increased the costs to the platform, A, and B, it increased the money the state of California receives from platforms. I wonder if there's a bias, okay? So Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash pledged $90 million to fight this. And interesting, on the last show, what I was talking about is what is really needed is a separate class of worker. I would actually argue, if you wanted to do this properly, there should actually be a new classification for the incremental workers, doing things a few hours here or there in this gig economy. We have contractors and you have employees. What we need is something in between, which are gig economy workers. And there's a whole host of reasons why that is. But one example of this is now the trucking industry is saying, hey, this legislation you just passed, that might actually consider truckers who are contractors to also now be employees. And that would be, but by the way, disastrous for the trucking industry in California. So they're raising the alarm here. And so what Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash are doing are trying to create a ballot initiative. So this will go directly onto the ballot for California voters who can vote to create their own class of worker for the gig economy. Honestly, this is the thing that has needed to be done. I just thought it would never get done because there's decades and decades of precedent around labor law for contractors and employees. It's such a big move to go into a now completely new class of labor, but it's actually the solution that has been needed. So if you think about just contractors and employees, historically, rewind the clock like 20, 30 years ago, okay, I would have a trucker, I would have a plumber, I would have, people doing like modeling or acting, right? Technically, all those people are contractors. They're doing that job full time, right? And then employees are also doing things full time, are working in an office, and the company just has much more control over how they do what they do. An independent contractor is supposed to be independent and doing their own thing. Now, these gig economy workers driving for Uber, doing deliveries on DoorDash, you're in the middle. The platform is giving you business. The platform is telling you where to go and what job to do. But you are doing this on your own volition. You are acting independently. You could be doing this for 10 hours a week. It's all incremental income, right? A lot of these things are very different than the traditional definition of contractor and certainly the traditional definition of employee. The whole employee thing is so far afield. So if they create a new class of labor here, which is what this vote would be on, that is really powerful. And that could ultimately, hopefully, be adopted by other states and really start a renaissance. And it's actually put multiple other gig economy startups out of business because they were sued. Many of them by ex-workers saying that, hey, I was supposed to be classified as an employee. Only the larger tech monopolies and platforms, well, they're not monopoly status yet, but only the larger tech platforms had enough capital that they could actually settle a lot of these lawsuits. Some of them turned into class action lawsuits. And so it really became a big issue. This would really, I think, provide the best solution. Now, the irony here is a separate class of worker, I still don't think is actually going to solve the two biggest gripes of gig economy workers. And what are those? Number one, when is the platform going to change its take rate? And you were taking 20%, now you're taking 25%. If there's only one or two players, what am I going to do? Again, I don't really have any recourse. Second one is I'm getting kicked off the platform, or the platform is penalizing me, and the customer complained, but the customer is wrong, or the platform isn't looking at all the information. and my livelihood is at stake here. Would a separate class of gig economy workers solve that? There isn't too much information on this yet. We'll continue to follow it, but I highly doubt that if Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash are bringing this vote to the state of California, that they're going to put limits regulating how they can increase their take rate or not. Maybe there's more provisions on the second issue around how platforms would regulate or police or penalize producers. But I hope something like this works. I really do think it would be the best thing for the industry. And then it would let these truckers not be too concerned about being classified as employees. And I'm sure this is just one industry. There are many industries here where you're still working with a company or closely to another company, right? If you think about a trucker getting a job from a shipper, and there is a kind of closer working relationship in that environment than, say, you're a plumber. But even plumbers now on these service marketplaces have the same challenge. So it's a big issue, and we'll see where this nets out. Hi, this is Alex Mozed. Thanks for joining us on Winner Take All. If you enjoyed the content today, which I bet you did, please comment, subscribe, and definitely message me on Twitter when we're doing live streams. Also, please note, all opinions expressed about stocks or public companies on the show are exactly that, opinions. This is not investment advice. Don't act on it. WisdomTree licensed Applico's Platform Insights data product to aid in the creation of the PLAT ETF. Thanks for joining us.